Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of the Coscast. Now, this one's a little bit different, but I feel this one is very, very important to get out there. And I think there's a lot that people are going to appreciate this coming out and someone coming forward and talking about a subject like this. I will let you know straight away that this is an 18 plus podcast. There will be things that some people might find uncomfortable, just to let you know. Today, we're going to talk about a female in the gaming industry, and also this certain female, recent events that have happened to her, and how it has an impact on her and also the people around her. Today, I bring you Caitlin Caro to the Coscast.
Hello.
Hello, welcome in.
Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm very, very good. How are you?
I'm doing better.
I think to start off with, I have to give you big respect for one, coming on here, and for two, obviously, it bringing a highlight to what's happened recently, because that must have been tough.
Yeah, it wasn't an enjoyable experience by far. I think when you come forward about something, there's a lot of, oh, am I going to be believed? Is the evidence I have enough? And things like that. So there was a lot of back and forth. I was talking to someone about it. I explained the whole situation to them before I even came forward. And I had a couple of people definitely saying, no, this is wrong. You need to say something about it.
And how long did it take you to come forward?
So originally, I wasn't going to do anything. I was like, I'm not a very like big conflict person. But then I noticed he started deleting messages. So, and luckily I had already screenshotted the original messages. So that's where it was like, I've got you. That you don't delete messages if you're innocent, and that's why I reported him.
I can completely agree. Yeah, what's the need to hide something if there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong? So,
exactly.
out of interest, because I mean, as a male in the gaming industry, I get some pretty strange messages. What is it like as a female in the gaming industry? Is this a one off, or does
No,
this happen a lot?
this has happened a lot. Like, I think being a woman just in 5M in general, you see the worst of society. And then if you go to like a broader of just gaming in general, it's awful. And there's very few and far between, like, you find a good set of people, like a very good set. I think you, for Valorant, for example, I don't play it, but my friend does. She gets told to go in the kitchen every other game. And it's just at the end, yeah, it's weird comments all the time. You get overly sexualized, very misogynistic. So you're always trying to prove, it's like you're trying to prove that you're fine and that you can play a game. It's a very weird power dynamic, is the only way I can really describe it.
Mm. And sometimes, like, can you? Is there times where you can have a laugh of it, or is there every time where it's not funny? Does it go very extreme?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You can make fun of them 100% because say if they're absolute dog shit at a game, you can make fun of
Mm.
them. They've just told you to get in the kitchen, you're bottom of the leaderboard, you know?
Yeah,
So you can definitely have fun with it, but then it also, it takes a toll on you at the end of the day because you're there to have a good time to de-stress, and you've got some probably like 18-year-old living in the mum's basement telling you to get in a kitchen when they've never had a
yeah.
job in their life. So it's
I,
it's one of those.
I can imagine you probably get a hell of a lot of message requests on Discord as well, I bet.
I think with the character I play on a server in 5M, I definitely get talked to as if I am that character. Um, as my character is a very overly sexual person, but I am not. And then people expect me to be that person, and they have a very rude awakening when I tell them to fuck off. And they're like, "Why are you so mean?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not mean. You're coming at me, trying to flirt with me outside of a game when I don't know you. I don't feel comfortable doing it, and then I go back in that game, and you're being a dickhead to me." It's one of those.
Does it make you uncomfortable to play that sort of character then?
I think after what happened, I was definitely uncomfortable playing my character, which is quite sad because I enjoy playing her. But
Mm.
after everything that happened, I was very uncomfortable. I didn't touch that game for 5 days while everything was being investigated. I didn't feel comfortable being in the same server as that person. And I didn't feel comfortable with people coming up to me and flirting with me or being overly sexual towards me because of the situation that had just happened.
So to kind of, I suppose, to fill the viewers in, because obviously beforehand I wanted to see evidence, and we're not going to show evidence on here. There's no need for that. But me and you had a chat, and I said, right, let's see it. And obviously, I can put my hand on heart. I've seen it. I've seen the statements and I've seen the facts. But to fill the viewers in, I suppose there's a let's say your most recent. How do we word this correctly? Your most recent interaction. Let's say that.
Okay.
What sort of what sort of messages did you receive?
So I'd like to make it clear, it wasn't immediately someone was being sexual to me and I was uncomfortable. It was completely consensual at the start. There was a phone call that happened that made me incredibly uncomfortable, and that is where I started to ignore this person and to distance myself from them, as it was some weird things said that I was very uncomfortable with. And this is when he took offense to it, and he continued to try and message me still. I kept ignoring it, and that's when everything unfolded. But some of the messages, while I was ignoring him, it was stuff like, let me find them. He would message me, "Hey you." I went, "Hello there." He said, "How's your curves?" So a bit weird. Ignored it. I was like, "Oh good, how's you?" He's like,
How's your
"Stroking."
I
I
have a really bad memory. It's reminded me. They just popped
You're
in to say,
traumatized, so am I.
how's your curves?
Yeah, at midnight,
Right, okay.
he popped in to say that.
Okay.
He's like, stroking something huge. 15 minutes later, I'm like, "Oh yeah, really?" He's like, really horny. And then 45 minutes after I ignored him, he goes, "Appreciate any help." And then another 15 minutes afterwards, he sends a winky face.
Well,
And
and
then the next,
you this whole time you haven't replied.
yeah, haven't replied to any of those.
And when he said he's stroking something huge, were you
He was
even
very,
asking what he was doing, or did he just say, "This is what I'm doing"?
"This is what I'm doing." Because not
Right. Okay.
only when he was sending me those messages as well, he then messaged me on Instagram with a video of what he was doing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Wicked.
that was that. And then 5 days later, you could see on Discord, I was in Arena with some friends. So he messaged me saying, "In Arena, love that." I was like, getting the practice in. I was killing one of my friends who was really good at it, so I was getting better. He was like, "Nice. I'm in bed holding something thick," which I totally disregarded.
So you're not insinuating anything. You're just playing a
Nope.
game,
Just
and out of
playing a
nowhere,
game. And he's the one messaging me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you got to admire the confidence, I suppose.
Is it confidence or is it an ego? That's the question.
No comment. No comment. So you're happy away, and you get a message holding something thick.
And then the next day, while we were in the server, he put a hit out on my character for no reason whatsoever, because I watched back his VOD, and his reasoning after, because he puts a hit out, nothing like, he doesn't give a reason. The person who then did the hit called him back and said it was done. He then goes, they said that she wanted a reason. He's like, "Because she's a mouthy bitch that causes trouble." And the night before, I was ignoring his advances.
So how does it make you feel that obviously you're playing in a game, and for anyone that's not watching, we're both role play in many different servers, and there's certain rules for anyone that's not aware. You play a character, and whatever happens in the game is unique to that game. Outside of the game, it doesn't matter for anyone that's not aware. So how does that make you feel that you're turning down advances from someone out of a game, and then you're being bullied in a video game for not responding to the quote unquote "I'm holding something thick"?
I think it makes you feel quite like dirty in a way, because it makes you feel like you have to sell yourself outside of a game in order to be left alone, and that is messed up on so many levels. And the worst bit is, I'm not the only person this has happened to. There are at
Yeah.
least 2 other girls I have talked to that happened to them, and some of their cases were much worse than mine.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, hopefully, an episode like this, and not even this situation. Hopefully, an episode like this, people will sort of understand that people will listen. And
Yeah.
I think we're very, I'm sure, very grateful, and so I'm sure many people are that in this instant, you were heard, and you
Mhm.
weren't shunted away, because
Yeah. I
obviously,
cannot
go
fault
on.
a single thing that the people who dealt with the situation, they were incredible on so many levels. Um, so for those 5 days, I was basically completely alone. I was fully isolated. I didn't want to talk to anyone. And those people that dealt with it were still checking up on me and making sure I was okay within myself. I even had someone quite high up offer to pay for therapy for me because they were so worried and wanted to make sure I was okay after the situation that happened.
Wow, yeah, I can imagine. It's like I said at the start, it's fair play to you, because obviously the most recent event that happened was, it was targeting something that you would seem as powerful and controlling.
It was very controlling, it was very narcissistic, and it wasn't pleasant. And I think because of the status they had within the server and without the server, they thought they could get away with it.
And gladly you've proved that what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
Exactly. What they did was not right. That should never happen to anybody. And another reason I wanted to come forward is because I didn't want this to happen to any other woman after me.
Yeah.
Because I can take a lot, and this shook me quite hard. I've always struggled with mental health issues. I don't want to go too much into it, but I stopped having panic attacks at 17 because I was medicated, and it helped me a lot. 2 days after I reported this person, I was in my bed just having random panic attacks. It was awful. It was absolutely awful that happened.
And what was the reason for it? Do you think it was the anxiety of, because I suppose if you're probably thinking, if this goes wrong,
Yeah,
you're done. Do you know what I mean?
exactly. I think it's the anxiety of being believed, and also you start to doubt yourself. It's like you've given all this evidence over, you've shown it, you talk to other people that it's happened to, but then you're also in your head thinking, did I just make this up, or am I going crazy? And it's because I wasn't able to talk to anyone really, like who was trained in like what had happened or anything. It was just my friends, a couple of my friends that I talked to. So you're there, you chatting with them, and obviously they're going to be supportive, but you don't have anyone saying, "Well, are you sure this happened?" And it was a really tough one because I know what he did was wrong. Because if it wasn't wrong, he wouldn't be deleted messages. I wouldn't be feeling the way I'm feeling, and the situation wouldn't have been dealt with the way it was dealt with.
A
So it was
hundred
a really
percent,
tough
a
one.
hundred, 100%. What you've done is right, and it's been dealt with, and that's all down to you. I don't know, these we won't talk too much because it's their story, but these other females, was it the same time or was it previously? Because
Same time.
it was,
So there was previous as well. He did it before me, 100%. I can confirm that. And then he was also doing it at the same time what he did to me to other girls.
I imagine, probably the same messages, same pictures.
Same messages, same pictures, same videos,
It's-
which we were able to prove as we talked to another server owner, and those 2 girls did come forward to that server owner and provided proof, which then resulted in him being removed from that place.
Well, huge respect to them as well, and I'm sure there's probably more that don't know what's happened and what's gone on, and it's not the sort of thing you either pop up to someone and say, "Oh, have you been told something's this today by someone?" Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's kind of the sort of thing you probably keep to yourself, I can imagine.
Yeah, yeah, because it's also a tough one as well, as when I was ignoring his advances, because I was ignoring his advances for a minimum of 2 weeks before this happened, and while I was in the server with him, he was running around completely discrediting my character and isolating my character as well. And I believe it was due to like because he had no power of me in the real world because I was completely ignoring him. I didn't want anything to do with him. He was then in a server trying to isolate me to I don't know if it was to show he had power there or what, but it was really uncomfortable and quite weird.
Now, do you think prior to all this that you sort of led any way for? I mean, this is quite extreme, but do you think before this sort of got overwhelming and uncomfortable, do you think that you could have? There was hints from your side, or was it just general conversation? How do you feel about that?
So here's the thing, if you did not respond to him, even if it was 2 days later, he would do something extreme within the server. So there was definitely messages where you could say I was a little bit leading. I'll put my hands up to that. I explained it fully to the people who were dealing with my situation, as if you did not respond to him, he would make your life a living hell within a video game. And as dumb as that sounds, it's true.
No,
It
I'm. I don't think that is done because a lot of people spend a lot of time in there for whatever reason, enjoyment,
Mhm.
escape, streaming, job, and a lot of people spend a lot of hours. So I don't
Yeah.
think feeling uncomfortable at games is a very crazy thing to say.
Yeah, I did explain to somebody higher up, like, it was my safe space. He ruined my safe space, and I also pay to get a better place in a queue to get into this safe space, and he's completely ruined it.
Yeah. And then, so how many times would you make a phone call? Was it just a one off?
One off. That phone call was a one off. After that, I was didn't really. It was. I don't want to go too much into what was said in that phone call, but it was things that I was very uncomfortable with. But I was trapped in the phone call, so I had to play it out. Is the other way I can describe it. Um, you you kind of stuck. You can't just go, "Oh, you said something really weird. I'm going to end this phone call
Yeah,
immediately."
no, I get you. I get you.
Yeah. So it was one
I
of
get
those like
you.
trying to rush it to the end.
I'm guessing that, and as you mentioned, that was the point where you sort of said, "No, I don't like this,"
Yeah.
and there was no response, and then
Yeah.
things just got progressively worse for you,
It went
obviously.
very toxic because a woman had rejected him and he didn't like it.
I, t- I can't understand how anyone can possibly think on along the lines of "I'm holding something thick" is going to make you go, "Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
no, Cosney, it's so attractive when people randomly
yeah."
message me
I,
going, "They're
I,
holding something's thing." It's so attractive.
I don't understand that, but I can, I can imagine this probably happens a lot, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He is not the only. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say I haven't had flirty texts with men before because I have. Sometimes it is fully consensual and we're there having flirty texts. It's fine. But then there are other times when people just immediately come into your DMs with the wild shit, or you're having a normal conversation, for example, and then they immediately turn it sexual. I think just that in general is a woman problem, not even a gaming community problem. Like even when I
Mm.
was 18 on Tinder for like the first time, I was having a normal conversation and immediately a guy made it sexual. I was like, what? I don't want that. That's it doesn't sit right with me. It's a bit icky. And I think it's also just men seeing women as just sexual all the time. When
Do you
in
think,
reality, we are
do you think a lot?
people.
I think a lot of people just don't know what to say, so they just think
I think a lot of
must be
people
the
just
best
don't know how to
bet.
speak to women. I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is because when I speak to a man, I'm not thinking, yeah, I want to see your dick. That's
Yes,
not what goes through my head. I'm having a conversation because I enjoy your personality and I can see us being friends. It's not because I can see us having 10 kids down the line in a relationship or a hookup. It's
yeah.
just I enjoy speaking to you as a person.
What's wrong with "Hi, how are you"? Like, you done much
Exactly.
today? Not "I'm doing this" or "I'm doing that,"
Yeah.
but
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a
So,
weird one.
how did you feel when, like you said, with the evidence sort of being deleted? How did that make you feel with your story to come forward? Because that must have made you quite nervous. Because without evidence, what can you do? How did that make you feel?
I am just happy that I screenshot messages. That's all I'm gonna say. Because as soon as the messages were sent to me, I had screenshotted them. Because I was
Hmm.
telling my friend, like, "This is weird, look what you sent me."
Yeah.
And then, I went back to read the messages because this was the day after, he had put a hit out on my character for no reason. So I was feeling a bit targeted, some could say.
Mm.
And not only that, he was a big streamer telling other big streamers, oh, that person's character, nah, don't, they just isolate her. And then you've got these big streamers with big audiences then hating on me for no reason. They don't know the reason. And they're hating on my character because a guy is butthurt that I don't want to see him holding something thick. So I think it's that.
Yeah.
And then, so you've got all that, and it does take a toll of you. If you're not a streamer, because I stream from time to time, but I'm not a big streamer by any account. I just do it for fun. So when you're going into these people that you do enjoy watching, and you just see random strangers discrediting your character because of somebody else, it's hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Like if I'd done something within RP, totally fine, it's just RP. But this was more than RP. This was taken
Mm.
out. So I think it's that as well. It's just I don't know how to I didn't enjoy it. It was very uncomfortable. And then you've got other big streamers doing that, and then also after he was gone started almost idolizing him in certain ways, and it's very uncomfortable to see.
How does it make you feel when someone's been caught?
Yeah.
We all make mistakes in life,
Oh,
regardless of
100%.
what they are. The one way that you can attempt to even fix something is immediately put your hands up. That's the very least you can do.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? Right, this is what I've done. How does it make you feel that because you didn't really want to do this?
No,
You've been go on.
I said to somebody after it happened, after they were removed from the community, um, if he puts his hands up, said he's done something wrong, he doesn't have to admit to what he's done. Just acknowledge that he did something wrong, saying he's trying to better himself. Even saying sorry would have been lovely, just
That would be
apologizing for what
nice.
he's done. And as long as he didn't discredit the people that dealt with my situation or anything like that, and just moved on, I would have been fine with it. Completely fine with it.
And that obviously there you are thinking it's all done and dusted,
Yeah,
and you still have to carry on. And obviously, word spreads quickly. People have a gist, and then
yeah.
it probably does. It make you feel worse? Do you question what you've done? Obviously, you've decided to come on here and get your side of the story out, which is factual. With me
Yeah.
and you can vouch for that, and many other people can. How does it make you feel that you have to carry on?
It's it's a tough one because I'm still living with the repercussions in a game of what he did, and I can't even explain what he did in the game without probably being banned for
Mm,
OOC or something like that. I can't explain it in a game. I had
yeah,
a conversation with somebody in character last night with my character. He brought up something and he was like, "Oh, this person said not to trust you." I was like, "I can't explain why he said that." Because the reason he
yeah,
said that is because I was rejecting his advances in real life.
yeah,
And that
yeah,
is a really difficult situation to deal with because you're still being reminded when people are running up to you saying, "Oh, this person said not to trust you." Oh, brilliant. Okay. Because I don't
yeah, and it,
mind speaking about it within my character. It's just because I don't want people to be like they never think they can mention that name around me.
mm,
Um, I'm dealing with it okay now, so I don't want people to feel like they have to step on eggshells around me.
yeah.
It's more of the fact I can't even explain. I can't even explain it. That's the worst bit about it because he was the one that made it toxic.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm sure many women will sympathise. I mean, like I say, even myself, I've had some very strange from males and females. I've had some
Mm.
very strange messages, um, and I have my own completely separate story away from this, and we won't even go into that. But that was very uncomfortable.
It was very strange, very uncomfortable. It's like I don't know, it's like he liked to swing his dick about to show that he had power. It's like he had to prove it to himself, is the other way I can describe it. And it was very uncomfortable and weird to see somebody act the way he did at his age in a video game.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is the thing with role play. You
Mm.
can you can either you can be who you want to be, or
Yeah,
you can make a version of yourself that you want to be and stuff like that. And then I don't know, maybe if you do it in a game, maybe you feel like that's real life. I'm not too sure.
I think some people definitely struggle with compartmentalizing their character and their real life. I've had issues in the past with other people, not even just men, with women as well, where they play a character and it's just them, and then
Mm,
something goes wrong within like the server. Like, well, it's just a character I play. It's just a character, but they turn into that person. I've noticed people can either go very, very toxic, or they could be quite nice still, and they could change as a person. It's all depending. But a lot of people do struggle between the line of fantasy and reality, and that's where it is at. And you need to make sure, because I am very different to my characters. There are definitely aspects of me within them, 100%, but I am not my characters. I think that's another thing. People think I am one of my characters, and if they hate that character, then they hate me as a person.
yeah, a lot of people tend to do that a lot. But
Hmm.
like you say, you're always going to have aspects of yourself in your character. We're not
Oh yeah.
professional actors, are we? Do you know what I mean? But you design your character, and then you'll have influences from yourself, but it's still the
Hmm.
character you designed to do. But yeah,
Exactly.
people get confused by that, which
I don't think people
is
can
strange.
understand it. I think that's what it is. They're like, well, you were doing all this in a role play scene. Why are you not like that outside of it? Because, I don't think being stabbed is actually quite attractive. My character might, but I don't. It's one of
Yeah,
those.
yeah. I suppose. Yeah, I don't know if you say yes, stab me, and
Yeah.
then oh,
Yeah.
she must love that IRL.
Yeah. So it's
You
it's
never
reading the
know.
room. That's what it is, I think. It's also reading the room and knowing that it is a character you're playing. Obviously, you will always have times if you're, say, 3 a.m., it's just your five friends and you're, I don't know, top of a very tall building, not near anyone, where you might go, oh, what did you have for tea for night? Like, there'll
Yeah.
always be situations like that where you do, you break the fourth wall and you have a little bit of a conversation,
Mm.
which, you shouldn't be doing in game anyway, but everybody does it. I've seen streamers do it and
Oh,
stream it.
big streamers
So,
do it all the time. Yeah, they do it all
yeah.
the time.
So
And
it's one of those, like, obviously there'll be times where you break the fourth wall, but in like big RP scenes when you're taking people hostage or shootouts or negotiations or something like that, you are fully immersed in that and you are within character. It's not, oh, Caitlin is
mm,
torturing this person right now.
yeah, no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. That's what makes it fun as well, not to take it too seriously, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. To have a laugh.
You have your things and stuff like that, but sometimes you can have a gig and it makes things funny. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Would you? I suppose you would probably feel a hell of a lot better if the person involved come out with the actual truth, wouldn't you? And I know we mentioned it again, but what would
Mm.
it mean to you for them to sort of? I know we said the right thing to do, but
Hmm.
what would it mean to you if they actually came out and did? Maybe because of this episode, because you've been brave and decided you need to stand up. And I
Mm.
think you've told the truth. You've told what's happened. Do you think it's time that they come forward and said, right, I'm caught? I think
Yeah.
we know that for a fact now. I've been caught out.
Yeah.
I've lied. This is what happened, and here's my reasons why. What would that
Hmm.
mean to you?
I think I'd appreciate it fully, but I don't fully trust him to do that. We saw what he did when he came back, which was manipulate the whole situation to make him out to be a victim. And I'm 99% sure he'd do exactly the same. He could prove me wrong. He could 100% prove me wrong and say, I shouldn't have done what I did. I'm sorry. Um, and it will never happen again.
But
But I don't believe he would ever do that.
I think the trouble is now as well that there's zero defense because all the messages have been deleted. So he
The
can't.
messages, yeah,
He can
yeah,
make you look like a bad person. I've seen your side of it.
yeah.
Where's his? He can't come forwards and try and turn this on you because people have seen it. A
It's
lot of people
also,
have seen it.
yeah, I think it's also admitting as well to yourself that you did this. And I don't think people can if you've done something wrong, you normally feel very awful afterwards, and you would usually apologize, if not always apologize. Basic empathy, really. And it would mean for him to come out and say sorry, it would mean he had to admit to himself that what he did was he sexually harassed women online and then went after them within a video game because he didn't have power over them outside of it. And I don't think he'd ever be able to admit that to himself.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it very basic and plain, that's exactly what he did.
No, I completely agree. I'm just trying to think what goes through the mind. Do you know what I mean? The mind of someone like that, because
I
like you
think it's
say,
very much he thought he could get away with it. Because I had this
yeah,
exact conversation with somebody. Because before he was removed from the community, there was a conversation that happened. There was multiple. There wasn't only one. There was multiple conversations that happened to go over everything. Because it was a very big thing that happened, and they wanted to make sure they were doing the right thing, and it wasn't a one-off or anything like that. So when I had this conversation, I was saying he right now is pushing the boundaries every single day because he has all this power and he wants to see what he can get away with. And they asked, "What do you mean by that?" I referred to something that happened in game where he fired somebody that worked for him because they didn't get a specific license from him. And it's
yeah.
because they didn't do that within a game, because he was ignoring them within the game. He didn't want to deal with them. That they had to bring it OOC. So they had to break their immersion in order to actually progress in this game and do something they wanted to do. Because like you said, roleplay can be anything and anyone. But when there's people stood in the way and just refusing to do it, you then have to, break your immersion, which no one really wants to do at the end of the day, in order to actually do the storyline you want to do.
Mm.
And there was a situation where he got rid of that person, and I believe he even put a hit out on that person because, again, he went back to the server and said, "Well, he's just done this. Can I please have it back?" They gave it him back, and then that person then got a hit put out on them.
I think that's just standard.
It's
Were they labelled a snitch as well, by any chance?
probably.
Yeah, probably. I think that's just standard, isn't it? We,
So it's one of those, like, he was pushing it because I said 5 months ago he wouldn't have dared to do that
mm,
in a very big server. Like, I think we both know where he came from. He wouldn't have even dared to do that, instantly banned.
no, definitely not.
So
Definitely
it's the
not.
fact he got very comfortable and he was pushing the boundaries every single day, which is the reason why I think this happened to me and to other girls, because it was the same time.
How crazy is it to think that something in a power in a video game can influence? Okay, you might be that person, but that more and more obviously gets you to a stage where you think, no one says no to me.
I think it's a very dangerous thing.
It's not. It's
And
not what you would expect, though. Do you know what I mean? Normal people wouldn't expect it. This is a very strange occurrence.
it's a
You wouldn't
very
think
strange thing.
this guy can do this in a game. He's gonna one day end up doing. I mean, you could see it from a mile away, but normally you wouldn't think, oh, that's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? How it's just very, very bizarre. Very bizarre.
Yeah, it was. I was saying to some other people, I believe he is a very dangerous person. There was things in that phone call that was said where he wasn't talked about, like, public things, and he just wasn't. He didn't care about anyone else around him. It was all about him. If that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, I
it,
can.
it was about. It was about. It's exactly in game. Is the only I can, like, share the comparison. It was about him and his role play, just the way it's about him and his pleasure.
Wasn't there another comment as well? Please tell me if I'm wrong. Something on
Yeah.
regards of impregnating.
Yeah, breeding and feeding off my tits, to be
That
exact.
that's
That
it.
was
Yeah, that's
so weird.
yeah.
So very weird.
So quote unquote, you had a message. I want to
I got no,
breed you.
that was in the call. That's the thing that made me incredibly uncomfortable.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. I want to
Yes.
breed
Yeah.
with you and suck on your
Yeah. No,
boobies.
feed. No, not suck, feed. Feed. Feed was the word used.
Awesome.
Oh
Wow.
yeah. That is so attractive, Cosney.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. You see
I
what I
don't
mean?
even.
When people think I play my character, because everything to my character in roleplay is very attractive and very hot. It is not. It is not. No, that was too far for me.
Yeah, I don't. How long did this phone call last?
It was an hour, to be fair, because we did just chat shit for the first like half an hour.
I dread to think what else was in there, and I don't really want to know.
I don't want to talk about it.
I
There was a lot of awkward silences within that phone call. I was like, what the fuck do I say?
Well, yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to go through that. So I'm very sorry that you
It's all
have
right.
to or
I just
had
hope
to.
he
Sorry.
doesn't do like a true Geordie where he's like, I was just like, really in the moment and just saying wild stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
No, not like that. You got to be in
Not
some
like that.
fucking. You got to be in some moment to
Yeah.
come up with shit like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It was not. Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. It was so weird and so uncomfortable. And I'm not one to kink shame, but I am kink shaming right now
I think.
because
I think it's more disturbing that this is someone that previously you would look at as someone very respected.
see, when I first joined that server, I joined it because my friend was going to join it. So it wasn't because there were streamers in there. And when I looked into it more, I was already following this person on Twitch before joining that server, and I'd seen his content before, and I was very much looking forward
Yeah,
to being able to role play with him because in my eyes he was a very good role player, and I enjoyed watching his content. So I think it's more. I was so excited, and it was awful. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like when they say don't meet your idols. Not saying he was ever my idol. I enjoyed some of his content,
no,
but it
I
was
get
very
no.
much one of those
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know. But
because
I suppose someone like that, you feel that you can trust talking to him, wouldn't you? You would say,
Mhm.
"Oh, this
Yeah,
guy's
because
normal."
the reason it started is because I had done some role play in order to try and get a business within the city. By no one's fault whatsoever, but that business was given to somebody else. There's no blame on that whatsoever. You know, sometimes things like that happen. And when I started talking to him, I was like, I'm quite upset. I feel like I didn't even get a chance to even go for it. And I'd done all this role play in order to even attempt to get it. Like, it wasn't confirmed I was going to get this business, but I at least wanted a chance to try and go for it. 'Cause I'd already done all this role play in order to try and get it. And he was like, "Yeah, don't worry, we'll get it. Yeah, we'll get you a management position or something within the game." And then as soon as that was like confirmed, that is when he started talking to me. And then he was always the one to go sexual first.
Do you
So
think
I don't. It was very much like if I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
that's what I was going to? Do you think he feels like, "Oh, I've done this for
He
you
was.
now"?
I think he felt entitled to it because he helped me
Yeah,
out in a game.
yeah,
But in reality, it just felt like I was being used in the game and then outside the game.
yeah.
Because I did watch back one of his videos, and there was a conversation had like, yeah, we'll just fully like use her for because she knows all the business stuff already, so we'll use her. And then one of his friends said, yeah, and then we'll cut her head off. It's like, what? So that happened. Obviously, my character didn't know, so I didn't play off it. But I'd watched it. I went, right, okay, and it's good to know that I'm just going to get used for all this. Like, I think as well when you're just using someone in roleplay, it's shit from you.
Yeah, but I think it's shit in roleplay. Let alone getting sent
Yeah, yeah.
fucking.
And I was being used in city and then getting sexually harassed outside a city.
Yeah,
I
I
was
think that makes it a lot
completely
worse.
burned
Yeah,
out. Yeah, I was completely burned out.
I
I
mean,
was done.
even when you're in a game, you're trying your best, and some things get stopped. It's not
Yeah,
fun at all. But on the plus side, you've got the same guy out of the game,
I couldn't get away from
going
him. He was
Sergeant
everywhere.
Major.
Yeah, it's like he would call my character every other day as well. Like, I want you to meet someone or this or that. And I remember it was like 2 days or a day before the business was meant to open, and I was completely drained, and I was no fault of anyone else's, but I was doing a lot of like the work to put everything in place. I was planning it all, and I just didn't want to be around him because I was
Mm.
constantly getting like chased after is the other way I can say, like in my DMs outside the city, and then he's there like because he had a part of the business because it was sold to him, he was then there constantly after me in RP. I could not get away from this man. And
Did you ever get like messages like when you're stood next to him in games? Did you ever get DMs then as well?
so at the start, yes, I've had other conversations with other girls. He likes messaging the people that he flirts with in city at the same time when he's streaming because he likes knowing it's just between you two.
Right.
Well, I don't know if other people are watching or what, but that's what he enjoys. And he has said that to somebody that I can confirm is
Yeah.
100% been um been a victim. I don't really like to use the word victim, but been a victim to his antics.
I suppose you yeah, it's not a nice word, but you have. And this
Yeah,
this is only one story. There's two more that
minimum of two more.
well, yeah, this is a minimum that you know of.
Yeah,
And obviously if they've come forwards, that's made them very uncomfortable. And I don't
yeah.
even know that side of the story. I just know yours, which is uncomfortable as it is. Hence why I keep making silly jokes, because it makes me uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, same. Yeah. So what I have found with the girls is it always starts out consensual. It's a bit of flirting, a bit of fun, whatever. And then he is always the one to take it too far. And
Yeah.
I think that is why a lot of the girls and just people in general, because he could have done it to men. We have no idea. We have no idea.
No.
Um, so I think that's why the people didn't want to come forward because it's like, well, I did, I did consent at the start.
Have you
As soon as
have
as
you ever
soon
seen sorry, go on. Sorry, I'm butting
no,
in. Go on.
it's all right. As soon as somebody starts ignoring you or is showing not an interest, that does not mean carry on because you got consent to begin with.
Yeah. Now, I would take someone ignoring me as pretty clear cut. I'm not enjoying this. Have
Yeah.
you ever seen anyone actually say, "Stop! I'm not enjoying this"? Has anyone ever done that? Or, like I say,
Yeah.
you shouldn't have to. If you ignore someone,
Yeah.
that's a pretty clear.
That's a yeah.
But has anyone
I
that you know ever said, "Do you know what? I don't like this"?
I don't want to talk about her story too much because it is her story at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah,
But she called him out on his bullshit. He did not like that, and then he targeted her in game.
yeah.
That's what. So if you said no to him, it yeah,
It got
you
worse.
you might as well just perm your character at that point because he's just gonna come
Yeah,
after you.
yeah. I can imagine.
Because
Well,
yeah, like he even said, I think in one of his VODs, he's like, people don't say no to me. He,
yeah.
he doesn't. Yeah, it is one of those.
Well, that, thanks to you and other people, that will, at least in the environment that we're in, will never
Mhm.
happen. And you coming
Yeah,
forward will branch out. And obviously, you took it upon yourself to take this even further to other places, and they
yeah,
listened and
mhm,
they agreed with you as well
yeah.
that the evidence was more than enough to take action.
So yeah, I had a conversation with somebody else in another server who was high up, and my main concern is I don't want him in a position of power where he can then take advantage of more girls or but men, both, just people in general. And they agreed, and that when the other two girls came forward as well, that they could say he was a community risk as it was happening at the same time that it happened to me because there was a conversation that was had and he made it out that it was a completely consensual adult relationship that I just got salty one day and just decided to make it into something that it wasn't, which is completely incorrect. Um, he made it out as if nothing was wrong when you
Yeah.
can see in the messages I wasn't entertaining you.
Well, kudos to the teams that have looked into this, because that can't be easy
Mm,
to target something like this and look it all, and especially with stuff being deleted and stuff like that. And so that takes a lot of respect, because that can't be easy. Because
it could have been
imagine
very
if they
easy
did listen to his side.
yeah, they could have very easily just swept this under the rug. They could have done that. They could have just permanently banned me and said, "No, she's lying, guys, don't listen to her."
Yeah,
It
there's
could have been that simple.
a lot of respect there, a hell of a lot of respect,
Mhm.
and a hell of a lot of respect to you and
I'm I'm
the other
very
people.
grateful that I was heard and that they made the right decision and they put other people's safety ahead of him as well. Because that was my main concern. Is
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I don't really care what happens to me. I can handle it. But if it was someone that was quite sheltered, never experienced anything like that, and couldn't handle it as well, it would
Yeah,
have been awful.
like you say, if you can handle yourself a bit, as traumatic as it can be, you imagine someone a bit more vulnerable, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's not nice at all. That could go very wrong.
Exactly. And that's my main concern. It's if it happened to someone else, because I'd feel awful.
Yeah.
I
No, I completely understand. Well, I must say, Kate, thank you very much for coming forwards. I'm sure
thank
that
you.
you will be an inspiration to many people to sort of look at stuff like this and just be careful how they sort of take things.
Yeah.
And remember that you can speak up and people will hopefully listen.
Yeah.
And I have huge respect for you. I really do. I've mentioned it many times, but I do. And I'm sure, but I'm a male. I'm sure many females will watch this and go, do you know what? Fair fucking play.
Yeah. Just thanks for having me on here and letting me have a platform to actually speak out
I think
about what he did was wrong at the
it's
end
the
of the day.
right thing to do. It made me nervous, but I will stand true that it's the right thing to do, because if you have the balls to come forwards, I should have the balls to hear you out.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much for joining me today, Kate.
Thank you, Cosney.